So with this question, I'm gonna start at the very beginning. The hardest part is right here, is because of boundary. The boundary is two x minus two, and so that makes it a lot more difficult than before. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna say integration between 0 to 2x minus 2 of ft dt is equal to h of x. And that's a very rare information. Now everywhere you want to replace that x with 4, and that's the integration of 2 times 4 minus 2 of 0 of f of t dt. So that's equal to integration between 0 to 8 minus 2, which is 6 of ft dt. Does this make sense so far? Okay, and I just do not AP calculus, but AP counting. Okay, so 6 is right here. But turns out like this area here, right, this area here, and this area here, one's below, one's above, they will kind of like offset each other. Does that make sense so far? Then you just have to count the rest. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This part is 9, this part is 10, and this part is 10 and a half. So it'll be 10 and a half.
Wait, so I tried using the trapezoid equation, except I didn't know which was the base, which was A and B. So
Well, if you have this shape, it's not really trapezoid.
okay.
It's actually a,
Pentagon,
yeah, that's a pentagon. What you can do is, like me, I count them. I don't have to figure out like something very, very hard. Does that make sense? And then I plug in. Wait, Sean, did you do your homework today?
Yes.
Did you understand them?
There's the first one, the tangent line. I was kind of
Ooh,
confused.
we're gonna go over that. That's a good one. Okay. So if I want a h prime of 4, that means I have to first find out h prime of x, right? But h prime of x, according to this one, is a little bit harder to find. So I'm going to show you what the h of x is here first, and now I'm going to show you how to find it. And some people might get confused, but if I take a derivative of this, that means equal to d to the dx. If I take a derivative of this left side, right side, now if I just focus on integral of this, what is the integral of that? It's a big F of 2x minus 2 minus big F of 0. What'd you say? And then if I take a derivative of that, it's going to be small f of 2x minus 2. Now chain rule says I have to take a derivative inside, which is derivative inside, so people usually forget that too, because that's chain rule. And then that becomes that. So h prime of 4, that's equal to f of 2 times 4 minus 2, which is 6. So 2 times 4 minus 2 is times 2 is equal to f of 6 times 2. F of 6 is negative 2 times 2 is equal to negative 4. Why is f of 6 negative 2? It's right here. The y value is negative 2, and then you just multiply that. Is this hard?
How do you know when to use the part 1 or part 2 of FTC?
Just because they told me to take a derivative here. Good question. They told me to take a derivative, so I have to take a derivative on here. And so you have to do part 1 first, and then take a derivative as a part 2. So if I just do this part, right, this is part 1, right? Now if I take a derivative after, that's a part 2, which is derivative that is usually involved with chain rule, which is outside parentheses from capital F to small f, and then take a derivative to the inside, which is 2x minus 2, so derivative of that is 2. Okay.
before you move on to one second.
Now if I take a double derivative, which is I'm going to take a derivative of this one, which is I'm going to put 2 in the front and take a derivative of that, so it'll be f prime of 2x minus 2. Again, this is a chain rule. Just don't forget the chain rule. So it's 2. So it'll be 4f prime of 2x minus 2. Now, if I were to plug in 4 here, I'm going to get f prime of 6 times 4. F prime of 6. Let's look at 6. Look at this point. It has slope of negative slope and positive slope. And if you have slope contrast each other, that's going to be undefined. And that's going to be here.
Wait, I'm sorry, could you explain that one more time? Why is it undefined? Because it was just
Isn't that supposed to be like sharp turn?
So if you have turning like that, so this point from here to here is turn, like this point, and that's sharp turn, that's undefined. The work of this is kind of massive. There's a lot of work on this question. This is probably the most work of. Sean, can you help me answer that?
So you plug in for each double prime of 4. You plug in 4 to 2x minus 2 is 6.
Click on that. Click on the thing again. Click on that. No. Click on the turn off button. Yeah. Answer it. Click on it. Click harder. Click harder.
Oh, it was Craig? Oh, it's
Xiang, you don't know how to answer a phone. If somebody if it's like somebody else, I don't understand. Xiang is like probably the most digital person here. Probably that phone was so 19.
Right. What am I supposed to do? See, it's not wireless.
You don't answer the phone with the wire on it. That's pretty much. Okay, are we okay here?
Wait, can you explain the H double prime again?
If I take a double prime, you mean the derivative or you mean the y is undefined?
Yeah, just like the entire like H prime again. Double prime.
Double prime, so if I take a derivative of this part, right? Now this f is going to become f prime. The 2 I'm just going to place in the front. So it'll be 2f prime of this, and also derivative of the inside, which is 2x minus 2. Because every time you take a derivative, you have to take a derivative chain rule.
Okay.
And that's how you get 4. 2 times 2 equal to 4. Now, once at 6, I look at my slope. But I find out slope from both sides are not equal to each other. If slope is not equal to each other, it's undefined.
Okay, I get it.
You sure?
Yeah, I just didn't know where you got that red 2 from. But yeah,
Yep.
I didn't know.
Chain
you
rule.
did.
Chain rule, chain rule.
Okay.
Now, to answer the rest of the question is kind of difficult. So they say between 0 to 6, right? And they say h is decreasing. Well, we know h decreasing is when the inside material is equal to, so it's between this point here, 5 and 8. But the problem is when this part is equal to 5 and 8, that means 2x minus 2 has equal to 5 and 2x minus 2 has equal to 8. Because you want an f of 5, right? If you want f of 5, that means 2x minus 2 has equal to 5. So x equal to 7 over 2 and x equal to 5. So then you have a 2 of this value. So it's going to be 7 over 2 to 5 to answer for part B. Now you also have this part is also decreasing. However, it's not in the interval, so that's not something I have to worry about. But if you do negative 2x minus 2 is equal to, you have to answer for part E, but we're going to answer part E first. So 2x minus 2 equal to negative 2, and 2x minus 2 is equal to negative 1. So that's equal to 2x, x equal to 0, x equal to 1/2. So because 0 to 1/2, yeah, actually it is belong to there, so 0 to 1/2. So there's 2 value here. But also that answer for part E too, because it's between 0 to 1/2, that's gonna be decreasing.
Okay, so I have a question about B. So we do include both 7/2 to 5 and 0 to 0.5.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we put that into, like, when we change the interval, it's within
Yeah.
the interval. So we have to change the limits before we decide if they're in the interval or not.
Yeah, first of all, this question what doesn't always show. It's probably one of the rare chance. I don't know where did this person get this question from, because I've never seen it on AP exam, and I never seen it this hard. And this is probably the hardest fundamental theorem calculus it can be. I don't know which years this, but I'm a test junkie, so I collect a lot of tests, but I don't really remember I seeing this one. And besides, this seems like there's a lot more point than 9 points, so I don't think it's this one on the AP exam.
So, do you think there'll be this hard of a question on the test next week?
Probably not. More likely not.
So out of like the questions, which one should we like expect?
Pretty much everything.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not gonna be something that's hard with the boundary that's changed, but you have to know how to deal with it. I mean, if I give it to you, that means you have to prepare all. But I might give you, even if I say it's too hard, I probably give you as a bonus, and maybe you can get a bonus, maybe you can get it right, maybe those are other things that you have to think about. Questions?
So, where did you get the negative one from?
Negative one's right here. Is it because this point right here?
Oh, okay. So like.
Because they are below x-axis.
Mhm. Okay.
So Darby, if the f prime, if the h prime is equal to f of x, so that means f of x is negative, which is below x-axis. That means h is decreasing. That not means you don't understand, but
Let me write that down. Say that again, like slower.
okay. So when they say decreasing, h is decreasing, that means you had to take a derivative of h and find out what the negatives is, right? Because when first derivative is going to tell me is the slope is positive or negative, which is going to tell you increasing or decreasing. Second derivative is going to tell you concave up and concave down.
The second derivative of h of x or the f of x?
H of x. But second derivative of h of x is equal to f prime of x. Remember that level that we said? So if f prime of x is less than 0, that means concave down. F prime of x is concave up. Basically, greater than 0 is concave up. Okay, so questions about that? Now I'm going to go to says local maximum. Local maximum happened right here because of how they crossed the x-axis. It went from positive to negative, so that maximum occurred at 5. So 5 is equal to 2x minus 2. Then x is equal to 7/2. So the answer of this one is 7/2. And you can justify is because h prime of x change from positive to negative.
Can you explain that again?
Is this for B? No.
When they go in from positive to negative, that means it's a maximum because this one is h prime of x. H prime of x going from positive to negative, this point is a maximum in the h of x, in the original functions. Because it went from positive slope to negative slope, guess what? That's that.
Could you explain D?
D, I haven't get there yet,
Oh,
but I just explained C. But D is this point right here, which is 8. So 8 equal to 2x minus 2. So x equal to 5. So this one actually has answer. Yesterday I said that's not defined, but actually x equal to 5. Katie and I kind of work it out.
For
Huh?
D, would it be 8?
D will be not 8, is gonna be 5. Because
Why?
8 is equal to 2x minus 2. Because you want the inside to be there equal to that. So 8 is equal to 2x minus 2. That's a part that you have to pay attention.
Oh, is that why you put...
Yeah, that's why I've been always said 2x minus 2 is equal to 0, 2x plus 2 equal to -1, 2x minus 2 equal to -2.
Okay, so you put... Oh, okay, so since that's where it crosses the x-axis.
Yep. Okay, so that's pretty much E also. E already answered the question. It's decreasing, so yeah, it's decreasing on that part. Now, some people have a hard time at question 8, part F. What do you think the answer is?
Wait, which question?
This question, part F. What do you think the answer is?
Would it be, there would be no minimum?
There is a minimum. Everything, as long as it does function, there's a minimum,
Okay.
which is the lowest power. Can you imagine any function without nothing?
A straight line?
You can still have every value as minimum.
Oh, I was thinking of absolute minimum, where it's like, it can't be like n or something, or is that absolute maximum?
Absolute minimum.
So,
Which is zoom in?
I
Huh?
don't know which one goes
I
first.
think it's
the
12.
E is...
Because it's going from positive, it has a, it's toward the x-axis, so that means negative, for example.
Oh, yeah, it would be 12. Wait, why did I say... I said can't determine.
Yeah, actually, no, I said 12. Actually, no, I said
At what interval is h increasing?
0 to 6.
Perfect, because above x-axis. Concave up, roughly from, I would say probably 9 to 12, right? Because it's a positive slope, because it's derivative of that. Is h of 12 positive or negative?
I said positive.
Positive is good. Why is positive? Because this area, right, is way bigger than the other area, just by visual, right? It's way bigger than this. So that is actually positive.
But like, do we just eyeball it? Because there's no way of calculating that.
Yeah. I mean, you had to be like, I don't know. Can't even tell which one's bigger. I don't think that's gonna be an IQ issue. Just
They
more
have the
like,
same length, right?
Yeah.
'Cause they both go 6 units.
Yeah, Mr. Yeah.
the area under the curve, not just only the width. And
Yeah, whatever. Anyway.
okay, so h achieve maximum value where?
H equals 6, or x equals 6.
X equal to 6, perfect. Now, when does it reach minimum value? This is kind of hard, but x equal to 0.
Oh, I see what you
You don't get it?
mean. It's because...
Let's just say if I have a $100 to start with, right? And not just say this area is, let's say it's 80, right? So when I get to this point, I actually have 180, right? And not just say this is a 40, much smaller. When I get to this word, it's going to be 140. So where's the lower? The lower is before you gain this 80, which is 100. Right? Because you have positive area, that means your value is still increasing, right?
So the area under, like, the area below the x-axis was bigger than the area above the x-axis?
that will happen on the other endpoint. Because you lose more value than before, than what you start out with. Then that's the one that's a little bit more difficult.
Is that gonna be on the test next week?
What? Everything here is fair game. So, I mean, if I teach you, that means you're responsible for it. If I don't teach you, that means you don't responsible for it. But I teach you, so if I give you material, it's fair game. And this is not difficult. Well, g of 0 here, right, 0, 0 is equal to negative 9 pi over 4. Hopefully you understand why. Because see that 3 to x of f of x dx, and this x, they want to be 0. Right? But what's the problem? The bottom number is larger than the top. I don't know if June told you that, Darby, but you had to switch this. Did she tell you that? Yeah, you have to switch and make it minus. Now this one is going to be a 3 by 3 pi, so pi r squared, divided by 4, so it'll be 9 pi over 4, so it'll be negative 9 pi over 4. And g of 8 is going to be, is equal to, I think, is 15 over 2. And b is still 15 over 2. Equation tangent line basically composed by this, y minus y1 equal to times x minus x1. And then you're going to say y minus g of 11. G of 11 you're going to find out is 0. Right, 11 is because this area and this area kind of cancel out. That's 0 is equal to m, which is g prime of 11. And g prime of 11 seems like is, what is that? I think it's negative 5x plus 5. And there's a parenthesis here. Oh, it's not 5, it's 11 here. This is 11. What 11? 0, that means I plug in 0 here. If I plug in 0 from here to here, then this area is exactly the same as this area because they are 3 by 5. So they cancel each other out.
Wait, that's, how do you use that equation for the tangent line? Because isn't it?
That's the equation of line. Equation of line composed of x point and y point. They already give you 11 for x, and they give you g of 11, which is plugging 11 into g, which is find out 11, what's my area, but at 11, then positive and negative area is actually equal to each other, so they cancel out, so it's equal to 0.
Okay.
And negative 5 just means this is f of x. You want a f of 5, f of 11, sorry. If f of 11 is going to be negative 5, and that's what happened to the answer.
Wait, should it be negative 11 instead of positive 11?
It's a negative 11? Possibly. Yeah, minus 11. And 3, 6, and 11, they are 3 points that it's a maximum minimum on the first derivative. So therefore, it's an answer. And that's this one. This one's actually super easy. G of 0, just plug in 0, which is going to be 9 over 2. Which is this area here, which is, if you want AP counting, here is 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And this is just 3 over 2. So it'll be 9 over 2. Now, why did I say plus 1? Plus 1 is they give you an AP credit. This is worth 1 point, this is worth 1 point. So they were 2 points here. Yes. I'm telling you, the AP exam for this part is actually not difficult. A lot of people just really afraid of notation. That's why they worry about it. This part is going to give you +1 if you get 3. Did you get this one? X equal to 3? When I add trim maximum, did you do this one?
Wait, I got negative
3 is this part, is right here. Is because when they reach from positive to negative. And this is justification. This is going to give you a +1. Because my g prime of x went from positive to negative, or you can say f of x went from positive to negative, which is above x-axis to below. So you got 4 points already. You're like, yeah. Okay, on your test, you gotta make sure this. If I ever ask you absolute minimum value or absolute maximum value, please write this down. If I ever ask you absolute max or min, you cannot just check the relative maximum and relative minimum. You're gonna check relative max or min, and very important, check for endpoints. If you check for endpoint, you're gonna get credits. And if you want justification, so I want a justifications, you need table. Table with endpoints, as well as critical points. So you needed 2 points. You need 3 points at least, minimum. So there was 2 endpoints and there's 2 points. So here's my justification. I plug in -4, right, into these functions here. So that means -3 to -4. -3 to -4 is going to give you a -0.5, -1. So this is -1 here. You have to test the -5 and 4, and you have to plug in a value. If I plug in -5, it's going to give me 0. If I plug in 4, it's going to be 6.5 minus pi over 2. And you're going to be like, wait, how did you get pi over 2? I'm going to show you. So let's go into the positive region first. Remember, they are from -3 to, the endpoint is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 5. So it went from -3, so we already know of f. We already know this part here is 9/2. Does that make sense?
You went a little too fast. Why is it -3 to 5?
Because I said you have to check the endpoints. Wait, did I count around? 4. You're right, it's 4. Is that okay? Because you want to figure out what happened, h of 4 is. So it's going to be 9/2. Now, this part here is kind of hard to calculate. This part you had this 2 moon shape, or I don't know what that shape is. That weird shape there. It's basically 2 minus pi over 2. Why is 2 minus pi over 2? Because you take 2 spaces and carve out a semicircle with a radius of 1. And then you're going to find out this area and this area cancel. Do you see that? Boom, boom, they cancel each other. So you should get 6 minus pi over 2. And that should be your final point. You compare this point here, that's going to give you a +1. If you think about another endpoint, I think you'll get another +1. And if you have the answer, it's going to be +1.
Wait, shouldn't it be 13 over 2?
Where'd you get 13 over 2?
Like, when you're doing 9 over 2 plus 2, shouldn't it be 13 over 2?
Yeah.
13 over 2 is 6.5, right?
No. Wait, yeah, it is.
6.5. I forgot to write down 6.5. I write down here, I didn't write down on the top. So each point is going to give you an endpoint. Table is a good justification for absolute max and absolute min. Now you say this is your absolute min. You got fun. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You got 7 points already. You can earn the last 2 points. Very, very easy. Write out this. This is going to be f double prime equal to f prime of x. That's going to give you 1 point. And slope that change sign, which is at here, 1, 2, 3. When they change from positive to negative, that's your inflection point. Inflection point. And this plus 1. Look, you got 9 points out of this question. You don't have to know anything else. You got 9 points out here, you're a quarter away to getting a 3. That means, not including you get lucky on multiple choice, on 45 question, on multiple choice, you have to be pretty smart to get less than 3. Otherwise, statistically, you are always almost going to get either 7 or above. Because 45 question, or you just have really shitty luck that day. If you spend 5 minutes working everything C, you would have got like 7 out of 45 question. That's 7 points. That's 7.2. So it'd be 8.4 plus 9. You're halfway there. Just by answering this question as a whole.
On the, are we gonna have to justify our answer for the test for next week to?
Yes.
I have a question, so like for number 10, like so for like -3, like the slope, like it looks like it's undefined, so like can undefined points be like included as
Yes. Inflection point, long as it changes slope from positive to negative. That's an inflection point. Don't have to worry about if they are defined or not. Also, this question we had talked about last time. A lot of people got confused. Find the 0 of g. And hopefully, students start understand from 0 to -2 of f of t here equal to g of -2. This one is equal to what? Negative from -2 to 0 of ft. So since it's negative half, so it's actually, half is 3/2. So it's actually positive 3/2. So this one's 3/2, right? So if you want to find 0, you want to make sure this end up to be 0. So you had to go back further. If I go back here, then you got this negative here, and this positive is going to cancel, and that's equal to 0. Sorry, equal to -4. And 0. Because at 0, you don't have area under the curve. At -4, the positive area and negative area cancel out. And that's pretty much all breakdown as much as I can. And then, this one here. So a lot of people says they don't know how to do this one. This one's 7/2. Do you guys have a problem with that one?
Which question is?
Question 5. You got this? Okay. But do you guys have this? C?
No.
So between 0 to 4, right? Between 0 to 4, right? What's 7/2? 7/2 is 3.5, right? So 3.5 is right here. So you must go to this point here, 1 value. Do you see that 1 value? But when you get to 4, it's only come down here. It never go back down to 3.5. So there's only 1 value. And what kind of reasoning? Intermediate value theorem? Why? Because you got f of 0, g of 0 is going to be 0, g of 3 is going to be, I think, 5, 6. So therefore, it must go through 3.5. That's called intermediate value theorem.
I have another question about how to find the inflection point. So the inflection point is anytime the slope of the f of x graph goes from positive to negative, right?
Yeah.
So for this.
So in this case, it'll be here and here. Because it went from positive slope and negative slope and positive slope. So if I would ask you inflection point where, you would ask 3 and whatever that value is. 8? Yeah, 8.
Oh yeah, can you explain one more time C? Like, why?
Yeah. So you see 3.5 is right here. Do you see this value here? Between 0 to 4, they only cross this once.
Oh, okay.
But here, they never come back far enough to reach this point.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And you can say that's intermediate value theorem because you have some value below, some value higher, and it's continuous. So you have to say it's a continuous. Since the function is continuous, it had to go through there, 3.5, because you have some value below and some value above.
Alright.
That's your reasoning. Also, another common missed question is, I forgot which one is it is. I think it's this one here. They say finding the 0. Now remember the answer is at -2, right? I say the answer is at 8. Why? Because this part here is 6, right? And this one's a 9/2. What'd you say? Now what happened is this part here is 9/2 as well. This is negative. This is 9/2 as well. And this is 6. So 0 occur at 8. It's that easy.
I don't know what you're talking about, Mr. Yang. It's not easy at all.
It's super easy.
But the zero makes sense. Zero
Well,
makes
see, the zeros make sense. It's just, for me, it's really the,
Concave down?
no, so like h of 4, h prime of 4, especially when the limits are 2x minus 2, that threw me off so much. It's like an hour.
Yeah, that one is, like I said, that one is a little bit extreme.
Yeah.
If I were to give that one, it won't be like a regular amount of credit. It will be extra credit questions.
Okay.
Like, I'll be honest with you, the first time I saw that question, I had a difficult time reading it. I don't have problem finding the h of 4, h prime of 4, h4. I have problem with the part it says decreasing, which is you had to go back, evaluate for the thing. For instead of asking for that 5, you had the 5 equal to 2x minus 2. Because you want to make sure you got f of 5. So if you want to get f of 5, it has to be 2x minus 2 is equal to 5. So that part I had a hard time to comprehend right away. But eventually I will be able to fight through it. But I'll be honest with you, if I see it first time, you will have some difficulty for me to fight. Now, if that's the case, I won't give you as a questions. Something else like the rest of them, yes, fair game. Concave down, yeah, between 0 to 6. Because concave down, concavity is something to do with double derivative. Okay? Darby, you have to understand, when double derivative of x is greater than 0, it's concave up. If double derivative of x is less than 0, well, this is just normal derivative, but this case is different, right? This with double derivative is going to be the f of the prime. But if normally you just take a function, take its 2 derivative, it's going to tell you it's negative, it's going to go down. If it's positive, it's going to go up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And the first derivative tell you what? What does first derivative tell you?
Slope.
Yeah, positive is increasing and negative is decreasing. And if you want a maximum, it had to be increasing, decreasing, or decreasing, increasing to create a minimum. And yeah, that's it. You got this. You could have be ready to test tomorrow. This is easy.
No, because there's other lessons, there's other stuff here for remembering.
No, other stuff we're gonna teach tomorrow.
But there's no. This wasn't the last, like this.
And you have to know your Riemann sum.
Oh, that's easy.
No,
Okay.
this one's hard.
Riemann sum